We're in the sun today, family. Welcome back, welcome in. The element of fire, the transformational primal element of fire, can fuel or ignite, or it can burn and destroy. It can warm and light and comfort, or it can consume. And yes, literally destroy. Within our bodies, within our being, this translates to us being able to channel this primal energy within us, because if we are unconscious of it and not directing it towards which we wish to fuel, then we're going to be fueling something very different. It's the power behind our will. If we're not conscious with our fire, and if we don't tend to our fire and have a good relationship with it, it can consume us. It can prevent us from experiencing the desires, the passions that our fire wishes to fuel. But instead we can get overwhelmed, burnt up, burnt out. And the imbalances of fire can be felt in this society, I believe, quite strongly. If the fire isn't tended to, and it's low, it isn't channeled, it isn't owned and directed. If our fire is very low, we can become very lacking in motivation, experience apathy, sometimes hopelessness, and that state where we feel powerless, because our fire in full flow, in a healthy channeled way, fuels our desires, and our desires are informing us how we wish to live, what sort of life we wish to live. If we're ignoring that and we're not channeling that properly, we're going to feel lacking in something. If our fire is too strong and it isn't tamed, we can become very angry people, very frustrated all the time. There was a key in this for me, and I want to share this now, because essentially our fire, a sacred fire, tells us what we value. It tells us what we're passionate about, what lights our fire, literally. If we aren't embodying those values and we're not living in accordance with them on a very heart awakened level, we're going to get angry, because what we're going to do is look out at the world and see the lack of what we actually are embodying. When I was angry all the time, I realised that what I was actually angry about was a lack of justice. And the second that I stopped looking out and expecting somebody else to change that for me and brought it in, what does justice mean to me? Why am I so passionate about that? Why do I value it so much? What does life look like? What does society look like when it's present or when it's missing? And therein lies a real key to what's my templated core value, justice. So when I really sat with that and I felt about the energy of justice in my life, I was able to align with the vibration of it a lot better, and see small ways in my life that I could adjust myself to expand more into the energy. Respect is another good example. I used to go from 0 to 10, my temper would go boom over certain things, right? We've all got our little triggers, things that make us irritable or angry. When I actually looked at that closely, I realised that it was where I felt disrespected or where people were not showing respect. Sat with that, I'm like, okay, what does respect really mean to me? And when I brought it into my body vibrationally, what it did is show up every area in my life that I wasn't respecting myself. Equally, are you bringing justice, essentially, whatever the energy is? I wasn't respecting myself in small ways where I was not putting myself first, where my boundaries were slack. So once I sat with the frequency of respect, and I really was honest, I took accountability and I made adjustments. Then what started to happen is I started to embody that frequency more and more and more in my own life. And the result of that was less looking out into the world and being bothered where it does not exist. Because when we embody and radiate a frequency that we value and we stand for it, and we're prepared to speak for it in our relationships, in spaces and places around us, in the way that we work, the way that we move through the world, the way that we treat ourselves, think about ourselves on a core level, then we embody that frequency. And things start to match that in a better way. There isn't as much dissonance. So we're not then observing the lack of it everywhere. So anger, for example, and very extreme emotions are not there to make us suffer. They're actually messengers. And when it comes to fiery emotions, the energy of fire, they're really there to, it's not there to make us suffer. But it will burn down any little thing in our life eventually if we don't get the message from the energy. What is it that you value? And where is that present or not within how you perceive yourself, how you treat yourself, how you present yourself to the world and interact with other people? Do you hold that value as a standard? Is that your frequency that you radiate and therefore the universe has no choice to match? Or is it something that you're just thinking is outside of yourself and somehow it's going to be added to your life? And this happens a lot. We see this a lot, or it comes into play with relationships. Because a lot of the time we want this and that from other people, but we're not actually embodying those qualities, frequencies, vibrations ourselves. Therefore, we keep getting partners that don't quite fit the bill, right? So the sacred fire, probably the most primal, if we think of the other, or the other elements, or the other three elements, as in water, air and the matter of earth itself, they are all connected to terrestrial life. Fire is very primal. Fire, light, it's before all that. It's so primal, it's so transformative, and occasionally quite ruthless, but in our own individual lives, again, sometimes we need the transformation, we need the clean slate. Us humans, we get so bogged down in identity and way of being and mind in the past, we find it very difficult to let go of things. And sometimes the energy of fire needs to burn things up in our life. And personally, I was very attached to my comforts and my old way of being and my identity. I didn't know anything else, and it took a lot of crisis actually with this whole Uranus in Taurus 8-year cycle, which is actually just leaving now. It's just completing, and absolutely ripped my old life apart. And a lot of really intense and fiery energies and things, and to work through conflict, inner conflict, outer conflict. All of these manifestations in our life are the fire frequency that, if it's not kept in balance, if it's not allowed space in our life, a lot of us have been brought up being told subtly, consciously, overtly or not, or subtly, that it's inappropriate to be angry. It's inappropriate to be too much, to be too fiery. It's aggressive, or especially as women, so much conditioning around that. So a lot of us in this society have a quite a poor relationship with our fire element within. We suppress it. You can't suppress the fire. It will just burn us up inside and cause a lot of other dis-ease and imbalance. The fire is also our creative, our organic, creative, expressive energy. It's the truth. The fire is the truth that wants to come through our expression, through our voice. And it's so relevant right now, because everything that's happening astrologically, we're actually at the turning point, tipping point of a new reality, a new consciousness, this whole shift into completely different planetary cycles and the age of Aquarius. We're actually coming into fire and energy now as an overarching force, rather than the earthy, watery Pisces energy that we've coming out of. So things will feel very different. The pace is different. It's lighter, faster, and it will require us to look very deeply at what it is in truth that we desire. What do we truly desire? Where does that fire of creativity and truth and passion want to express in our life? And how does that, or does it not, align with what we truly value? And if we get these really strong, fiery emotions, there's nothing wrong with us. It's trying to show us where something is missing in our life, where there's a lack of embodiment in that area, or a lack of creative expression. And ultimately, the soul just wants to express through this body, right? So it's so relevant right now to really feel into the fire within us, the fire within, and what that primal force of nature wishes to express through us. Where are the dead, old, stagnant parts, thoughts, perceptions, identities that no longer serve and are actually kind of blocking this expansion? And the more that we can feel into the fire energy, allow it to move through, do things that align with the movement of that, and allow ourselves also to express creatively and speak in a different way. What we've been doing creates who we are now. Everything's expanding very rapidly, and our soul, we don't know fully who we are. We don't know everything that we're good at. Allow yourself to try something new. It might be a secret hidden talent that you didn't even know that you had. Like, this is where we're at in consciousness right now. Anything is possible. And we're coming out of this sleepy state, this kind of watery, sometimes delusional kind of energy that's tendency to be overwhelming and sweep us away, and it's a bit confusing. We're not quite sure who we are within all of it. This fiery air, quicker energy, it's higher consciousness, it moves through quicker. We need to just surrender to that flow in our life, however that looks for us. Whatever area of life it's pushing at and wishing to cleanse and sweep through and transform. Feel into, breathe into, how can I bring more surrender to that? Where am I clinging on to the old? What needs to transform? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. And it's taken me a couple of days. It always takes me a couple of days to ground. I'm at my parents' at the moment, and obviously it's a whole other vibration with family as well, isn't it? And this represents my past, this place. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I beach on and off from the age of 5 until about 6 years ago. But as with any place where we've grown up, right, there's a lot of, and not all good. It's always the way, isn't it? It doesn't matter where we are, we either end up taking it for granted. So now I come back, every single time I have new reflections, the past weaving into the present, these identity pieces, these family dynamics. And, everything is just this kind of opportunity to be more true to self. And that's really what the fire energy is asks of us. It seeks the truth, whether that's the true movement, the true voice, the true expression, the true desire. So thank you for all your support, your energy exchanges. I'm really grateful. I'm going to turn this, and yeah, I love you lots. Until next time.